Science teacher. Good morning, grade 9. So today I'm continuing the greenhouse. Under that topic I'm going to teach about climate change. So first of all, I'd like to welcome you in my class, grade 9, to talk about climate change. I just would like to share my screen. Thank you. Okay, so you're welcome in Distance Teaching Learning Session, grade 9 Science. So my name is Lil Hamal, your science teacher. Thank you. Okay, so it's climate change. So there should be C.SCIENCE, I beg your pardon. So climate is the atmospheric phenomenon over a long period of time. It is a sum of weather activities over a long period that can go over a year. So, for example, it's raining, that's a weather. It's sunny, that's a weather, and it's cloudy, that's a weather. But what is the totality of weather condition over a long period, such as up to a year? That's the climate. Okay, so so let me talk something about what is the climate of Chitwan, for example? So obviously the answer of the question is the climate of Chitwan is hot. So what about the weather? Weather can be the cold, and weather can be the cloudy, weather can be the sunny. Okay, for example, the weather at the moment is cloudy. So it's cloudy outside, for example, or it's sunny if it is sunny. Okay, so what is happening, the weather condition at the moment, the meteorological condition, that's the weather, and what actually happens all over the year. Most of the months of the Chitwan is hot. That's why the climate of the Chitwan is hot. That's a reason. So what is weather? Weather is the meteorological activity of that moment at a place, such as rainy weather, cloudy weather, sunny weather, hot weather, cold weather. Okay, so let me talk about something related to weather and climate. Weather and climate. Weather and climate, the similar things, but not the same thing. Weather talks about meteorological conditions of a place at that moment, such as it's raining outside. That's a weather. It's sun shining outside. It's a windy outside. Oh, it's a frozen cold outside. So that's the weather. So weather talks about meteorological condition of a place at that moment. And then what is climate? Climate is the overall or totality of weather of a place for a long duration. For example, what is the climate of Chitwan? It's hot, though we have got the few months of cold winter. So in overall, Chitwan is hot. That's why we say the Chitwan is hot. So the Chitwan's climate is hot, but doesn't mean that it is always hot. So its weather can be rainy, can be windy, can be cold. Yeah, can be that of the compatible. Yeah, good. So weather and climate are a bit different thing. Weather talks about the meteorological the factors at that moment, and the climate talks about the overall or totality of the meteorological activities. It can be that of a year, or it can be that of the decades, it can be that of the hundreds or thousands of the years. It's good. Okay, let's have a look on the screen. So now I've got the main topic today, climate change. So climate change. For example, let's say pattern and pattern change. Climate change. Weather change. Okay, mood change. So I gave a few examples. You clearly understand what does it mean, the climate change, in a very quick sense. So in a very quick sense, climate change is the variation or change in the certain climatic pattern. For example, what is supposed to be the temperature of the earth at the moment at that place? For example, 20 degree. So unfortunately, the temperature increased and it becomes 25 degrees Celsius. That's a change in temperature. It's a climate change. Likewise, so in the cold winter, the temperature is supposed to be minus 10 degrees Celsius, but temperature decreased down again and heating like minus 25 degrees Celsius. That's a change. That's a change. Change beyond our prediction or assumption. So likewise, sometimes there is no rainfall. In that time, during the monsoon, that we are expecting the rain, just a drought. And sometimes heavy rain, we are not expecting rain, or we are not expecting that heavy rain. Okay. Likewise, it's not cold even in the winter season, or the winter is more than the winter is colder than we are expecting. So whatever we are expecting in a weather pattern or weather events that actually happens during the during a year, for example, what happens during July or August or September, what happens in January, February, and that something gets changed beyond the normal assumption of the climate, that is now called climate change. So any change or variation in the pattern of the weather, that is called the climate change. Climate change can be talked about in a global climate and can be talked about local, regional climate for a long run. It can go like a year at least, or tens of the years, which is a decade, or hundreds of the years, thousands of the years, or may go for some millions of the years as well. So from that, we can come to know how the temperature, rainfall pattern, and seasonal change is getting altered. The seasonal change is happening, so they are changing how. So that's a climate change. Normally, we understand the increment of the temperature climate change, but not only the increment of temperature climate change, but also others are also the climate change. For example, not rainfalling drought, so the heavy rainfall, the increment of the temperature, decrease of the temperature, unusual wind or storm or cyclones. These are also the consequences of climate change. Good. So have a look on the screen. So climate change refers to the variation in the Earth's global climate or regional climate over a time, over a long period of time. So climate change refers to the variation, means change in the Earth's global climate, change in the global's climate, or regional climate means the variation or change in the climates of Himalaya, the climate change of the Chitwan, or climate change of Nepal, or climate change of Southeast Asia, including Nepal, India, the Bangladesh, the climate change of North America or Europe. So that's a regional climate change. Climate change is a change in the statistical distribution of weather patterns. When that change lasts for an extended period of time, that can be decades to hundreds or thousands of the years, and sometimes can go up to millions of the years as well. So what does it say? The second statement. The second statement says climate change is a change in the statistical distribution of weather. Weather pattern? What does it mean? Statisticals means data. The temperature increased by 5 degrees Celsius, or rainfall decreased by 20 mm of this season. Likewise, the storm increased. So statistical distribution of weather pattern is presented in a climate change. And because of that, we can say that the climate is changing. The climate is changing, the temperature increasing, the rainfall is decreasing or sometimes increasing, or unexpected rainfall. And we are facing rainfall in that season when we are not expecting rainfall, or at the time of rainfall, monsoon season, no rainfall. Because of that, the crops cultivation and harvesting time may also get altered, and the farmers get annoyed. That can be the problem. Okay. So let's have a look at another slide. Okay. So what's maybe the causes of climate change? There are a lot of causes of climate change. So we cannot say this much are the causes of climate change. So there are many causes of climate change. Out of them, the most important causes of climate change are as follows. Number one, increase in the temperature of the earth because of greenhouse effect. In the last class, we talked about greenhouse effect, the phenomenon of increasing the temperature of the earth. So the earth's temperature is increasing day by day, so every year. So that because of increment of the temperature, the climate change is the consequence of that. Next, release of greenhouse gases. We talked about greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbon, oxides of nitrogen, nitric oxide, nitrogen dioxide, methane. These are produced from the industries or vehicles or air conditioners, the fridge, etc. And they cause the greenhouse effect, leading the increase in temperature of the earth. Deforestation. So because of the human beings' encroachment to the environment, they are doing deforestation, opposite of afforestation. The plant actually absorbs carbon dioxide, and as we do the deforestation, then after here will be concentration of more carbon dioxide causing the greenhouse effect. So that causes the increment of the temperature of the earth, leading the change in climate. Likewise, next one, excessive use of chemical fertilizers. When we use chemical fertilizers, that increases the concentration of nitric oxide and nitrogen dioxide in the atmosphere, and that leads increment of the temperature, consequently causing the climate change. Likewise, volcanic eruption. When there is excessive volcanoes like in Japan or Philippines or United States of America, Italy, we are not experiencing the volcanic eruption. When volcano erupted frequently, the huge volcanoes, the warm lava, including the fire or hot acids, they come out. That it causes the increment of the temperature of the Earth's surface, definitely number one. Or number two, it may cause the screening of the sky. Screening of this covers the sky by the acids or dust coming out of the volcanic eruption. May act as a sun shade. It makes a shade that covers us. Obviously, it provides a poor visibility, and also it hampers the coming the excessive light to the surface of the earth, and we will face low intensity of the light. That may cause the decrease in the temperature. So, in one hand, the volcanic eruption causes the increment of the temperature of the Earth's surface because of hot magma, and because of acids when it covers the atmosphere, that acts as the sun shade, SUNSHADE, that prevents the penetration of solar radiations, may decrease the temperature of the Earth. Okay, so it's very interesting. That ultimately causes climate change. So volcanic eruption, in one hand, may cause the increment of the temperature, and on the other hand, it causes the decrease of the temperature of the Earth, and consequently leading the climate change. Climate change may cause different activities. For example, changes in the temperature of the Earth, changes in the rainfall pattern, and many more. Next one, excessive release of the methane. Excessive release of the methane, it's a greenhouse gas that causes the increment of the temperature. So that methane comes out of decomposition of organic matters, for example, cow dungs, or from the dead and decomposing vegetable offcuts or grasses, plant leaves, etc. And also, the methane may be released from the cattle fart. One of the research paper of New Zealand gave a research report to the government. They've got more cattle than the human population. Because of the cattle's fart, basically the methane comes out of the fart, and that causes the greenhouse effect and leading to some extent the climate change of that region. Okay, so very interesting. Cattle fart has got methane, and the methane is a greenhouse gas, may cause the increment of the temperature of the earth, ultimately causing the climate change to some extent. Sounds very interesting. What do you think? Good, huh? Okay. Next one, effects of climate change. What happens if there is climate change? So have a look on my screen, it's a bigger screen. So, thank you. What happens if there is climate change? So how do we know there is climate change? So because of these points, we come to know there is climate change. Number one, loss of biodiversity. Loss of biodiversity means there will be extinction of some of the plants and some of the animal species. That's the loss of biodiversity. For example, some of the plants, they are found in very cold Himalayan climate. If the temperature is increased and the snow melted, they are supposed to be in the snow, and they will no longer survive there. And they are, for example, some of them are growing in a moderate temperature, and so if the temperature increased, and so the temperature increased, and that extreme temperature is not suitable for them, and they will be vanished. That's a loss of biodiversity. Number two, change in crop pattern, sowing and harvesting time. Sowing means planting. For example, maize sowing or potato sowing, and harvesting time. So as there is climate change, there will be seasonal change as well, and farmers should be compelled to change their crop cultivation and harvesting. For example, the farmers, they're looking for the proper environment like rainfall and extreme temperature during the month of June. If June is not suitable because of climate change, it goes like for July. If July is not suitable, may go for August. Or sometimes June, July, August, if there is no rainfall at all and there won't be suitable for the rice cultivation. If there is change in cultivation time, the sowing time, there will be obviously different the harvesting time. So the climate change causes change in crop pattern, the sowing and harvesting time. Next one, the climate change causes the decrease in crop production. So obviously, if the temperature is not optimum, water or rainfall not optimum, the crop production decreases. Similarly, melting of polar and Himalayan snows. So the polar region of the earth and Himalayan peaks, including Mount Everest, Annapurna, Himalayan range, these Himalayan ranges are covered by the snow. And the research since the last 50 years, the amount of the snow in the Machapuchra mountain and Mount Everest decreasing. What does it mean? The snow is melting slowly, and the Himalaya is looking dark and barren. So consequently, we will have no snow in the future, and the snow are responsible to feed the perennial rivers, and these rivers are very essentially important to Nepal, India, even China, where more than 50% population of the world living. So in the future, if there is no snow in the Himalaya, and these freshwater rivers will be dried out, and there will be no water for irrigation, drinking, and other purposes. So have a look. It's a horrible situation. That's why the climate change is not only an individual problem, not only a national problem. It's an international problem. Likewise, there is increase this level of the sea is the snow melts or the polar snow melts. The water goes in the ocean and the level of the sea increases. There will be a decrease of the fresh water. I just talked about that one. When snow all melted and Himalayan turned into barren hills, then after no snow to feed the river, and the river will be dried out. If river dries out, then after there will not be any fresh water for drinking purposes. Likewise, effects in global water cycle. For example, the water cycle, water evaporates, turns into cloud, and that condenses and rain falls. That's a water cycle. And how the water cycle working globally all around the world, if there is climate change, it gets affected. It means somewhere there will be more rain and somewhere there will be no rain. And sometimes there will be excessive evaporation, drying the rivers or ponds or lakes, and sometimes heavy rainfall may cause the flooding. Change in the wind circulation, obviously. So some places no wind circulation, and some places heavy wind circulation causes the storm and cyclones. That's a leading devastating situation, even causing the natural disaster. For example, causing the cyclone. Next one, change in the rainfall pattern. So some year very heavy rain and a lot of rain, some year no rain. So because of that, in some part of the world there is drought and no rain at all. So in tens of the years, over a decade or 2 decades, and some part of the world heavy rain and flooding. So there is change in rainfall pattern. Improper distribution of rainfall. So similar points. So what does it mean? It's excessive rainfall or drought. Some places a lot of rain, some years, some months a lot of rain, and some months or some years, some part of the world no rain at all, causing the drought. Drought means no rainfall. Okay, so have a look. Climate change. Because of climate change, the glacial lake is melted and the snow all melted. The Himalaya is turning into just a barren hill. Next one, have a look. So the land is crumbled because of lack of water. Possibly it's going to turn into deserts, desertification, because of no rainfall, drought at all, no production of the agriculture. So it may not be a real picture, it's a symbolic picture. Have a look. So that's a big city, and half part of the grassland is drying and crumble, and half part is green and good. So we want actually the field with the grasses at the right hand side rather than the left hand side, because the left hand side the half part is without the water. It's a drought. The land is just crumbled and cracked. Next one, the penguins. The penguins, they live in the snow and they swim. The snow is getting melted, and so it's less snow. They are climbing at the top of the snows, just leftover snow. It's going to be melted, and they will not have any place to live. So have a look at it. So they will be vanished and they will die. So polar bear normally found in the ice, it's Himalaya and the pole of the world. So it's all the snow going to be melted, and the polar bear is just standing on a small piece of the ice. So and possibly it is going to be vanished because there is no snow in the future because it is getting melted down. Likewise, same picture. It's a very sad picture because the ice all melted, and the snow leopard is not on the snow, but on the trasses. So we polluted the environment, and all the snow melted because we made global warming, and because of that, the polar bear has got no proper place to live. So just standing in the terraces or the offices. So it is another effect of climate change because of the increment of the temperature, increase in temperature. The snow is melting down. So that's the situation. And this is also a symbolic picture. The half part is because of the climate change and getting dry at the left hand side, and at the right hand side it's green and good. So if the left hand side increases, that makes our survival difficult, and we want to increase the part of right hand side. So climate change, the aeroplane flying, and a huge pile of the trashes, a boy just collecting some of the things, possibly recycles out of the full pile, big pile of the trashes. So have a look. The trees, they're cut down, and some of them, the trees, they're dead. And it's symbolic picture to some extent. A little boy and just stepping forward, and I don't think so he has got some sort of hope because we spoiled the planet. Okay, let's talk about something related to the how to control the climate change. I already mentioned that climate change is not a personal issue, it's not a national issue, but it is an international issue. A person cannot do much about this, but a small effort that you made, that I make, that other people make, will be a lot to fight against the climate change. So what can be done for the control measures of climate change? Number one, afforestation. We afforest, and that the greenery increases and the plants absorbs carbon dioxide. That prevents climate change. Next, conservation and management of water resources, for example, lake, the river, ponds. We should conserve them. We should manage them properly. Reduction of fossil fuel use. For example, we are using the petrol, diesel, kerosene, the natural gases. We need to use them as less as possible. Use of clean alternative sources of energy. What may be the use of alternative source of the energy and which are clean? For example, solar energy, and likewise wind energy, geothermal energy, say hydroelectricity. These are the clean energy. Reduction of environmental pollution. So if we reduce the pollution, and that prevents the climate change. Likewise, minimum production and use of the greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide. We need to use the greenhouse gases as less as possible, including carbon dioxide, chlorofluorocarbon. Chlorofluorocarbon should be banned to be used in the air conditioner and in the fridge as well. And some more measures of climate change. There should be ban of the chlorofluorocarbon. I just talked about this. This is used in the fridge, refrigerator, or the air conditioner. This gas is responsible for global warming and deterioration or destruction of the ozone layer, and it is strictly banned in most of the developed countries, including Europe and America, and we need to ban this as well. And there should be management of waste materials, recycling, reusing. These are the main objective of management of waste materials, so that we make less trashes and prevent from the climate change. There should be conservation of natural environment. For example, we should conserve the natural tap, natural stream, the pond, the lake, the parks, etc. There should be improvement of agricultural system. For example, so the agricultural system we need to improve. So for example, we need to do agricultural activities in integrated farm in a huge piece of the land, and we need to adopt the organic or green activities. For example, the use of cow dung rather than chemical fertilizer, using insecticides as less as possible or no insecticides. So that's an improvement of agricultural system. So use of public transport, for example, individually using like cars, and that makes more traffic jams and more pollution of the air, releasing more amount of carbon in the atmosphere. But if we use the public transport like buses or trains, that minimizes the greenhouse gases and may prevent the climate change. Likewise, using the environmental friendly vehicles, for example, the train that runs by using electricity, electric train, or a rickshaw or bicycles, or when we use them, and these are the environmentally friendly vehicles, that causes zero emission of the carbon in the climate, in the atmosphere, and prevents climate change. There should be minimum use of the chemical fertilizers that prevents the release of oxides of the nitrogen in the atmosphere, that prevents the global warming. And the big thing is public awareness. If all the people are aware and they properly manage their recycles, and they produce the greenhouse gases as less as possible, they learn at a school, they learn in a community, they learn in a family, then there will be the measure of climate change, and we all survive from that of the climate change. Okay, so students, we are at the end of the session. So I think you understood the climate and climate change, the climate, the overall totality, the weather pattern of a place for a long run, long duration, and change means there is some variations in the pattern of climate. Climate change has got a lot of bad impacts. For example, change in the weather and rainfall, and so it's global warming, and we need to minimize the impacts caused by the climate change, doing some of the measures of climate change, including public awareness and others. Well, that's all for today. You have a good day, and see you tomorrow. Have a good time. Bye.